What's going on there, everyone? All right. Good news from the border. August border apprehensions down 22%. Major decrease in family units. The Department of Homeland Security announced Monday that apprehensions of illegal aliens on the southern U.S. border decreased 22% between July and August, a sign that the agency believes is proof that President Donald Trump's immigration policies are working. DHS reported just over 64,000 apprehensions in August, down from 82,000 in July. The data also shows a 56% reduction in apprehension by border agents since May, when such illegal crossings reached a peak of 144,000 migrants, which is insane. All of the numbers are insane. To me, 65,000 is still insane, but it's better. It's by far better. Further, family units and unaccompanied minor apprehensions declined more significantly than single adults, senior administration officials familiar with the numbers told the Daily Caller. Family units dropped to 55% of total apprehensions, whereas earlier in the year they were closer to 70%. Now, that's drastic. That's an awesome percentage. It makes me wonder how much, when the Trump administration came out and said that they were going to start doing DNA testing on these migrants and family units, I wonder if that had anything to do, any correlation with the drop in numbers. That probably put the fear of God into the traffickers that were coming up here, because we were seeing a huge number of people that weren't actually family units coming here as a family unit. So, The official also noted that apprehensions of migrants from Central America fell at an even faster rate than the 56% reduction rate from May to August. Central American families have made up the bulk of the border crisis over the past year. Officials point to the administration's work with Mexico as the largest driver of the reduction in illegal crossings, as many of the family units traverse through Mexico from Guatemala and Honduras and then claim asylum in the USA, which is not supposed to be how asylum claims are processed. You're supposed to go to the very next safe country, which they have to pass through. Some of them have to pass through quite a few, or, a few. I don't want to say quite a few, but a few safe countries. The administration's diplomatic engagement with Mexico has changed the dynamic, acting DHS Secretary Kevin McAleenan told the caller. Trump seems to prompt Mexico into action in May, threatening to place a 5% tariff on all Mexican goods if they did not assist him in stemming the flow of illegal aliens to the U.S. border. Mexico responded by promising to deploy National Guard troops to its own southern border and to reform its asylum process, which apparently they've done, and they're doing a great job. I mean, we got to give a lot of credit, not only to the Trump administration, but we got to give a fair share of credit to Mexico for this. They really stepped up their game, because for decades they've just been letting people cross into the United States when their own immigration policies were even more strict than ours. But because they were going to the United States, they were just passing through Mexico. They didn't really see the harm in that until they were called out like, hey, come on, guys. But so that's just a little take. Mexico has since deployed 15,000 troops to its border and has detained 134,000 migrants so far this year, compared to 83,000 detentions for the entirety of 2018. Mexico is also working to shut down the transportation routes used by human smugglers, effectively destroying the trend of large caravans marching up to the U.S. border. In May, officials said they encountered 48 large caravans of migrants, compared to just 6 in August. The Migrant Protection Protocols program, known colloquially as Remain in Mexico, is also allegedly de-incentivizing economically driven migrants from claiming asylum at the border. Instead of these asylum seekers being released into the U.S. while they await court proceedings, they are returned to wait in Mexico, stemming what the president calls catch and release of the migrants, which was always stupid. Why would you have... I never understood that policy where, okay, so we're going to detain them just to let them go into the country? That doesn't make any sense. no sense whatsoever to me. That's just all that's doing is hemorrhaging more taxpayer money. Because who's funding that? Who funds everything the government does? That's us. Once these asylum seekers are relocated to Mexico, they are offered work permits and free transportation back to their home countries. As a result, border officials are seeing large numbers of individuals voluntarily returning home instead of completing the asylum process. That's how you can tell, because for the longest time, people on the left were saying, oh, it's a humanitarian crisis, this, that, and the other. They're coming here for asylum. Well, when they're being offered a free ride back home, and they take that, they obviously weren't coming here to seek asylum, because they don't seem too scared to go back. You know, if they're just willing to forego the asylum process and go back home, it kind of makes me think they didn't have nothing to fear in the first place, and that's where you get the economic migrants, which are only worth their weight in salt if they have something they can do that's gonna make money for the U.S., you know? We don't need a whole bunch of just welfare recipients coming up here because they've been promised free stuff from, activists and whatnot. We put a strategy down for the president in April. He said, I want to end catch and release. I want these numbers down. I want the wall built. Those are the three things he told me. We are advancing dramatically in all three areas, McAleenan said. However, he added that the president is not fully satisfied with the August reduction in apprehensions. The president expects a further decrease, McAleenan said, explaining that DHS hopes to get back to spring 2017 levels, when apprehensions averaged 20,000 or less between April and June. Officials acknowledge that there are seasonal changes affecting border crossings. Migrants tend to come to the U.S. at higher rates in the summer when the weather is more amenable to the trek, but point out that the decrease in summer is significantly higher than in previous years. Apprehensions between July and August historically fell about 8 to 10% compared to 22% this year. DHS stressed that while the August numbers are a sign of the progress, they still believe the situation at the border constitutes a crisis. Overall apprehensions are still at 800,000 on the year, a 129% increase from 2018. That's the thing. I was about to say the exact next phrase. That's great minds think alike. Ha! Great mind. We are not out of the woods. I was about to say that because we're not, while this is a good step in the right direction, I'm still a very big supporter of the wall. Not just some archaic wall, but a smart wall. I agree with the smart wall. We got to have, the wall works by itself fairly well, but you incorporate some good technologies into that wall, lighting, cameras, motion detectors, sensors in the ground, then we'll be doing something. Because I'm not 100% just worried about the regular migrants coming over here. It is a lot to do with the illegal drug trade. You're seeing a whole bunch of fentanyl from China coming through the Mexican border. And fentanyl, we all know what it is and how dangerous it is. Just a little bit can kill millions of people. Like a kilo can kill so many people, it's unreal. It's not something we need coming into our country. And human trafficking, human smuggling. That stuff like that can be helped with the smart wall. We are not out of the woods, Acting CBP Commissioner Mark Morgan explained to the caller, calling on Congress to take up the torch. Good luck with that. The incredible work that's being done is a game changer, but make no mistake, for this to be durable, lasting, positive impact to address this crisis, Congress has to act, Morgan asserted. They have to pass meaningful legislation that we've been telling them for a long time that we need to do to effectively address the loopholes in our current legal framework. Well, we're not going to get anything through Congress anytime soon, people. I hate to say it, but Congress, they're refusing to do their jobs. Mainly because of the Democratic Party. When it comes to immigration, I will say it's pretty much all because of the Democratic Party. You know, from just 5-6 years ago, they have completely switched on their stance of illegal immigration and immigration in general. You know, I'm a firm believer that a country with no defined border and everything, and no protected border, is no country at all. And the Democrats don't seem to care anymore about borders. You have all of the top Democratic presidential nominees. They're all I don't want to say all, okay, out of the top four, they're all for either open borders, decriminalizing border crossings, or just not doing anything about letting people come here and, just letting them come here. Yeah, no, that's not how you run a country. That's not how you do it. And I know they know this, and I know they're pandering to the far left woke morons that no one seems to really like. No normal person, be you right wing, be you left wing, if you're a moderate or a centrist, I feel so bad for you when it comes to the Democratic Party. The progressives are taking your party by storm. Their numbers are increasing, while centrists, y'all's numbers are diminishing, and people are just confused. They don't know what's going on. Centrists and moderates, you've got to fight back for your Democratic Party. Because I can tell you this, when it comes to 2020, this immigration situation is going to be a huge factor. Huge factor. It's pretty much going to come down to the same thing it always comes down to. Almost every presidential race. What is it always about? It's about immigration type policies and something to do with Medicare or something like that. Health insurance and stuff like that. That's what it always comes down to. And the economy. And right now, Trump's on the winning side and doing things about the medical industry. He's already trying to make it to where our drug prices are as low as everyone else's around, all the other Western countries, which pay drastically less for medicine. He's trying to get that lowered. He's working on some things, so we'll see how that goes. That's still up in the air in my mind. But when it comes to the border security, he's on it. Trump is doing what the Border Patrol and CBP have been asking it. All these administrations, they've been asking for more help. We need more help down here, and for the longest time, they haven't really been getting any. They haven't been getting what they need. Now we have a president that is thinking about how important it is to have secure borders, economically and everything, safety-wise, economically. It's just important. It's a smart thing to do, and it just makes sense. And to the American public, it makes sense. Do you know how many people I've talked to since the Democratic debates that watched the debates and said, what are these people thinking on the Democratic side about open borders and decriminalizing border crossings? And these are Democratic people I'm talking to. They don't even think, the people that didn't watch it, when I bring it up and talk about it, they don't believe me. They don't believe that they would say some of the things they were saying. It's like, that's how out of touch the bigwigs in the Democratic Party are to their actual voter bases. They're just listening to the progressive far left activist type. The people that go to all these events, because a lot of them have nothing better to do anyways. But it's another good sign for the border. And Mark Morgan also said that the border wall is being built. They've already built 64 miles of brand new border wall, and they're working on around 400, somewhere around like 450, something like that, new miles of border wall by the end of 2020, I believe. So even the border wall is going up. President Trump is delivering on the promises. He means it. When he said he was going to come in, he did the exact opposite of what most politicians do. He came in with promises, and he's actually doing everything in his power to keep those promises to us, the American people, the people that voted for him, the people who wanted those policies. So kudos to him. And I can see the left's trying to find a non-politician to prop up here and there, but I don't think it's going to work. It's an ideological battle we're having when it comes to like the far left. It's an ideological battle, and I don't think y'all will win. But I'd love to hear your comments as always, and like, share, and subscribe. I will catch you on the flip side.